Two palm trees stand sadly on a lonely green island in the middle of the ocean. The tree on the left has 7 palm fronds, and the one on the right has 8. Their long brown stalks sag sadly. One of the palm trees weeps and begins to shrivel. The sky is a terrible bright pink, which fades to orange. The horizon is a flat line, a backdrop for the 2 palm trees holding hands in the dim light of sunset as if it's their last goodbye. None of it matters, but it all connects, and the main character of our story today happens to think so too. In fact, he thinks it's so important that he has this picture plastered in his home over and over and over and over again. This painting has all of the answers. You can hear them whispering in the walls, especially in this room where they are copied and neatly stacked in one corner or another, lined in rows along the wall and studied meticulously. It is obvious that the homeowner has pored over this image for countless hours. There's one in the kitchen, there's one near the front doors, barricaded with wooden planks. They're everywhere. Nothing matters except the static. Now, let me take a step back. This is a short video about the first-person game, The Sstatic Speaks My Name, developed by The Whale Husband, or Jesse Barksdale. It is deeply disturbing and yet simultaneously silly, like a carnival full of unemployed clowns. This game is a very short, free-roam 3D experience and is quite divisive among its audience. People tend to find this either shockingly attuned to the life of a person burdened by severe mental illness, or a poorly made piece of trash wherein nothing happens.
What a magnificent pair of bananas. Oh, great heavens!
Some people call it a walking simulator, which is a derogatory term used for games in which exploration is the primary focus. A small handful of people find it entirely comedic, omitting obvious themes of depression, self-harm, and other disturbing topics. Now, I'm certainly not the first to have taken notice of this game, as it seems to have garnered the attention of many a sad and or artistically inclined person. Without revealing the contents too soon, I would like to prepare you for what lies ahead. Among some of the reviews I sifted through, I found some that were quite scathing. One user writes, "This game is just plain boring, and relies heavily on shock value. The vulgarity adds nothing meaningful and feels gratuitous. In a way, this game lives up to its name. Like Sstatic, it's hazy, directionless, and devoid of meaning. What even is this out of 10? Another user writes, "The beauty of Barksdale's work is in capturing the creeping unease that can come from watching other people's lives to make too much sense." Still another user writes, "Shrimp." And yet another writes, "Did not wash hands or flush after using toilet." And yet, despite this cacophony of dissenting voices, the absurdist work of art has amassed a whopping
4,429
reviews since its release date in August of 2015, and that number continues to increase. The question is,
Why are you gay?
What makes this simple walking simulator such a subject of contention after all this time? We can talk about it here for a while. I am warning you right now, this game is on par with Presentable Liberty, or The Beginner's Guide. And if you've never heard of those, oh my god. This game is a sad game. It's so sad to me, in fact, that it's actually hilarious. Mind you, this is just a game, and while I will admit that it mimics the lifestyle of a person experiencing a mental health episode, there are many who do not take comfort in that. I'm almost positive the developer is tired of theorists cropping up pretentious video essays about his weird video game he made in 2015. Or maybe he's not, I don't know. If you really want his take, there's a lovely video he made that dissects the creation of this game, although it doesn't spoil the veil of mystery. But my fascination in this game does not lie in its sadness, nor its off-color comedic tones, but rather its public perception. You know me, I'm obsessed with the cult classics of today and why people love them or hate them so much. In your attempt to understand this strange little piece, please do not unravel yourselves and do not harass the developer. That is all I ask. The Sstatic Speaks My Name is a comedy horror about a man named Jacob. There are 2 things you should know about Jacob. The first and most obvious point is that he loves this picture of an island. Or rather, it's much less of a love than it is a very strong desire to understand. We'll call it an obsession. The second point is that he has meticulously planned his death today. You awake on Jacob's last day on Earth as he decided to end things by his own hands, to put it lightly. He has an aquarium filled with what appears to be giant shrimp, his babies as he calls them. They float languidly in the water, staring blankly at us through the glass. On the wall near the tank is a professionally taken photo of these exact shrimp titled "My Babies." Truthfully, there are only a handful of things you can do in this game, which include cleaning, eating, exploring the art room, and then some fun computer time. The game can be completed in 10 minutes, or if you are really mentally ill, it can be completed in—
Oh my goodness! Squidward!
Jacob wakes up at 3:22 a.m., or so it appears, as the alarm clock does not change its time throughout the duration of the game. On the ceiling above his bed is a hideous caricature of a smiling man scrawled in white ink over a black piece of paper. His teeth are like Tic Tacs, and his gaze is unsettling. Why anyone would choose a picture like this to wake up to, I have no idea. He sits down to pee and does not wash his hands or flush, which automatically takes the game down a letter grade. He stands in the bathroom for a while pensively before seeking breakfast, and upon seeing the empty fridge, decides to crunch on 2 whole entire shrimp. He eats his pet shrimp. I have no idea why he does this, and the only reason I can imagine that the developer put this in the game was simply to demonstrate that Jacob has run out of things he loves. It takes a lot to eat your own pet, especially raw. I can think of very few people with depression that have resorted to eating their own dog, but I mean, it happens, I guess. On your way to breakfast, you can explore the house a little. The art room is covered floor to ceiling with pictures of this painting that I mentioned earlier. There's nothing remarkable about this picture, and in fact, it is quite a hideous painting, one of those things you find at a museum gift shop and give to someone as a last-minute gift because you haven't seen them in years and it would be rude if you showed up with nothing at all. But Jacob is nonetheless obsessed with this fugly island painting, and the first thing you notice in this game is that he has, according to a Steam reviewer, somewhere around 50 copies in his meager, otherwise barren home. Each identical canvas is covered in hastily scrawled notes with sharp red arrows and circles that amount to nothing. There's a concerning lack of detail in the picture, highlighting how far Jacob goes to make meaning from this otherwise meaningless photo. From it, he draws religious influence, citing the hand of God as written within the palm fronds. He reveals the painter's signature with a scan in one copy, studies juxtaposition, and counts the number of palm fronds in another. He claims that this painting has lines of influence, and that even the negative copies have some sort of hidden meaning. It is disturbing, and yet still more copies lay stacked on the floor, awaiting careful scrutiny from Jacob. It is now time to chat online with friends, something that amounts to a handful of filthy chat messages from what appears to be a bot or a scammer. On the table with the computer lies a cheap stenographer pad with a clumsily written note. It is written from the perspective of a Jacob who is long gone, with regret for his father's recent passing and his mother's eventual discovery of his remains. With Jacob's plans now in full swing, we log onto the computer with the password from the sticky note on the wall, which for some reason is his birthday and home address, and open the desktop to reveal a tiled background of island pictures. We open the InstaChat app to reveal that Jacob has little more than 3 friends on it, all of whom are offline. We suddenly receive a live chat message from Fairy9968. The options are: press G to say you've embarrassed everyone who believed in you, and press H to say you can feel the atoms in your body waking up, whatever that means. No matter the player's decision, Jacob will not respond with how he truly feels, a hallmark of his depressive episode and its finality. A little drawing of the island on a sticky note is hung askew above a picture of what appears to be 4 people. They all harbor startling smiles and hold drinks, with one character appearing to lean awkwardly into the frame. Could that be Jacob? After your interaction with the bot, you will clean the microwave with a paper towel, and then... Now, on a note in the house, there are instructions on how to position the books in such a way as to where nobody will suspect a hidden compartment. If you touch the non-suspicious bookshelf, you will open its hidden door to reveal the hallway, behind which is a long corridor with a sharp turn, which ends in a small room filled with canvases. Each canvas has an attempt of the infamous island on it, but more importantly, there's also a man in a cage. we'll get back to this. There is honestly only one ending to this game, and because I am concerned with what YouTube will censor, let's just say that Ernholtz decides to use the rope in the tiny closet near his bedroom, thereby removing his presence from the earth. Jacob erases everything from the disc, if you know what I mean. He's been drawing on the same canvas for days, and he's about to quit without saving. After this, the player is immediately sent to the void, in which you are a soul floating towards ever-shifting realities, which are the lives of other people who've met a similar fate to our protagonist. And that is really and truly the end of the game. As I mentioned before, you might find it interesting that Jesse himself made a developer's commentary video on this game, and while it doesn't reveal some of the game's most unanswered questions, I was able to get a sense of how important this game is to a lot of people. Let me explain a little bit of what I've gathered. I would like to make it clear that I personally find this game as charming and funny as it is horrifying. What makes the Sstatic Speaks My Name so compelling is that it's uniquely very successful in its efforts to make the player uncomfortable. The soundtrack to simple actions is nearly non-existent. There's only a mournful ambient tone. The house is dark and cornered near the door are several televisions, which coincidentally display, you guessed it, static. It is empty aside from the paintings and a few simple pieces of furniture. This cursed, unsellable thrift shop painting is the most important thing in Jacob's life. Even his computer background is the damn island. He loves it so much that he keeps the artist in a cage and forces him to redraw the painting over and over. Or at least that's my guess. Jacob has spent his entire life, or at least several years of time, dedicated to leeching an answer from this painting. Now granted, I do realize that a lot of the game's rudimentary stylistic choices stem from a young indie developer who was just starting out, but that feeling of emptiness only adds to the game's impact. When I compared this game to Presentable Liberty earlier, I meant to say that it has that same listless ambience. The odd, blocky design of furniture, the stilted movements, and lack of voice acting all gives the player time to take things in. And a lot of people did not react well to this game, so it must have worked. Presentable Liberty, if you don't know, is a game best set aside for another video, but just to understand that it's very similar in format. It's set from the perspective of a prisoner who is meant to survive the eerie quiet of prison during a pandemic that is rapidly killing all of humanity, either through mental health crisis or through airborne illness. It's also sad. It's really depressing. Sorry. Anyway, Presentable Liberty is a special game to me, and that is unfortunate because if you enjoy playing games, especially indie horror games with real jump scares in them, you would kind of hate this. A style of indie horror games in the early 2000s emerged as what are interchangeably termed walking simulators. These were games with the primary goal to surprise the player with atmosphere and depth of storytelling. They're not difficult to create in a technical sense, and in keeping the developer's workload low, one can focus on character development and ambience. In this way, the player is left alone to process their own thoughts and the material set before them. Even so, there are many people who did not appreciate this game's content or its wicked sense of humor, and I think that's because for many it made them uncomfortable. In the same way that Presentable Liberty's goal was to directly pass real-life time for the player, the Sstatic Speaks My Name was made to create intentional silence. You are completely immersed in the final day of Jacob's life, discovering how he may have come to this conclusion. It's just you and this man's entire life. Or what's left of it. If your work is making people uncomfortable and causing discussion, congratulations, you are probably an artist. You spend 10 minutes guiding a man to his last moments, realizing that there's very little left in his life to hang on to. His father has passed, his relationship with his mother may be distant, he has no friends or family, and any semblance of a partner is reduced to a bot. Jacob loved his shrimp, but he ate them, and for some reason I found it very hard not to cry when he crunched down on them. And now I have, do shrimp have feelings in my search history? And you know what? They might, and that sucks. Luckily, Jacob is fictional and no cute shrimp were harmed in the making of this video. As with other games I cover, I find this one memorable. We are led to feel strongly for a stranger whom we never see, whom we only know in name. We stumble through the home of someone who was already dead from the start, picking apart his obsession with careful scrutiny, peeling apart his home, bleeding his life dry. We spent less than half an hour with this character, and in the first 5 minutes, we're crying in the club. That's good storytelling, and it's done through the environment. Jacob's depression is very well understood. It does not look like piles of dirty laundry and dishes scattered in the sink. The protagonist doesn't sob loudly for us or mention his sadness aloud. He doesn't call a friend to tell them about his lack of will to go on. He has a practice routine. Depression can look like poor self-care, but it can also look like someone with so much to say that it ultimately becomes a scream and then becomes nothing. His mental illness is concentrated into obsession, into 50 some odd canvases with identical paintings wherein he tries to find meaning where there is none. Mental illness is not always obvious. It speaks in hushed tones and hides itself from the face of the onlooker. The static, the nothingness, the meaninglessness of it all is speaking to Jacob. He can hear voices where there are none, and he is drawing purpose from a painting that has none. While I am obviously not a mental health specialist, I am a human being who has a history of being quite sick in the head, and I can say with full confidence that when Jacob looks at Rorschach tests, he probably only sees the island. It's not the island that's the problem, it's the lack of everything else. Jacob is obsessed with this island because he sees himself in it and potentially on it. For whatever reason, his mind hones in on an impossible math problem, and when he realizes it cannot be solved, he unravels. He goes insane. There's no goal to chase, there's no real ending. The game just sort of ends. And that's it. But that's just the thing. For however many people hated this game for its shock value, they were all affected by the same bizarre story. Like it or hate it, it still had an effect on you, and that's art. Some people really love this game because in its whirl of emotions, they are reminded that their own problems have a resolution. It satisfies a very voyeuristic urge in many of us to look into the life of a stranger. And this is that urge. Some people like it because they had a friend or family member, or maybe it was even them who was in the same position. Others find themselves amused by the man in the cage. One of the biggest criticisms of this game is that people dislike what seems to be a crass and random choice for its story. The Sstatic Speaks My Name has a very particular talent for never suggesting how you're supposed to feel and instead just letting you feel it. There's no teleprompter in any of Barkdale's work, no laugh track, and very little dialogue to suggest that you should feel anything at all, really. There is only the story in its rawest form, wherein the player takes the role of onlooker and remains a spectator until the very end. The only thing you are left with is the bitter taste of something you should have never tasted in the first place. Hopefully Jacob and his shrimp friends are happier in the void where everything makes perfect sense, where nothing needs to be solved and where there are others on the island. That's about all I really have to say about this game. I just wanted to talk about it for a bit. It's been getting a little bit warmer here. You might try sitting outside and reading for a bit. Pet a local dog, text a friend. Life is too short to spend looking down forever. There is hope for you yet, still. I hope the developer knows that he has made a game which relates to me and so many others. In its own sort of bizarre way, this is quite a comforting little game. Thank you, and thank you viewer for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and as always, stay tuned.